There are my pyjama bottoms. We're nearly finished. I just want to sort of give the waistband a nice stretch out and just make sure that those gathers that we've made through adding the elastic are nice and evenly spaced out throughout the waistband of the trouser. Just give them a good stretch and then relax. Just make sure just by looking at that everything's nice and even. Because there's a little extra step that I like to do here. There's a couple of things that I like to do. The first one is I think it looks really pretty to have a nice bow like this at the front of my trousers. And I've put these in your kit, a nice piece of this cotton tape with the saddle stitch feature on it. I'm just going to tie a bow that I think looks nice. There's no technical going on here. I'm just doing what I like the look of. Maybe a bit longer. I'm going to chop that off. Then what I'm going to do is open that up and fold it in half. And at the halfway point, I'm just going to pin that to the centre front. So this is purely decorative. It doesn't serve any purpose apart from looking nice. And I'm just going to, that's the halfway point there. And I'm just going to pop a pin. So that's sitting sort of halfway down your waistband. And you're now going to, let's put the pin this way, a bit better. You're now going to make sure that that's straight, and then you're going to sew through here. And that's going to do two things. It's going to attach your little decorative tie, but it's also going to be securing your elastic. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go round. I saw this on a YouTube video once, and I thought it's a really good idea. At each point where you've got a seam, so the side, centre front side, centre back side, just making sure that your elastic is flat and not twisted, and your gathers are evenly distributed around your waistband channel. And I've noticed on a few shop bought ones they do this as well. And I just go in here and I'm just going to go zip zip within that seam and just do a little vertical stitch there. And then I'm going to do the same at the centre back, dip dip like this, and then the same at the other side, just where the point of that seam is. Now those stitches that you're going to do are going to be hidden by all the gathers in your waistband, but what that means is that your waistband elastic is well and truly imprisoned. It's controlled. It's never going to twist because you've done your vertical row of stitching at each one. Now if you don't want to do that, you don't have to, but I actually find that by doing that I never get a twisted elastic in my waistbands, and even when they've been through the wash they're going to stay nice and flat. Right, so I'm going to pop the centre front here underneath my presser foot. I'm just going to be going on top of that seam. So I can just see that I'm right on top of that centre front seam there. I've just moved all the gathers out of the way. I've got my tape there. And I'm just going to do a few stitches forward, nice and slow. Once I get beyond the tape, I'm going to reverse. And back over the top of those stitches I go. Oh, there we are. Trim off those threads. And then those stitches, I know you can see them on that tape, but they're going to be hidden once you've tied that tape into a bow. Oops. Get rid of all those threads. There you go. So then you're going to tie that into a little bow at the front of your pyjamas. It looks really pretty. This means that you've got a nice bow there. I think it's nice to have something on the front. Now what I'm going to do is, I haven't got a tie for any other seams, but I'm just going to go round and I'm just going to put that under there. And again, I'm right on top of that seam, just doing what's called stitching in the ditch. So I'm just stitching right into that seam. And I love all these little tips that you pick up if you love sewing and watching people sew. And I just picked this tip up from someone who I saw making pyjama bottoms. And I just thought, what a good idea, because it's really annoying when the elastic gets twisted. There you go. So those stitches are going to just get hidden within that seam. You can hardly see them there at all, and especially once those gathers are up at the side there. Can you see? And that's our waistband done, and I really love how that lovely bow looks at the front there. I've just tied knots in mine to stop it from unravelling for now, but you could change over to a cream coloured thread and press them and stitch them at the ends, or you could just paint those ends with a little bit of fray stop, whatever you'd rather do there. Next thing we're going to come on to are the hems. Now what I'd suggest is just try these on, check them for length. The pattern, the instructions for the pattern says to turn up by 1 centimetre and then 1.5. So when you try them on, think that they're going to be 2.5 centimetres shorter by the time you've hemmed them. If at this point you want to make them slightly shorter, you can cut them down. If you did need longer trousers, then I'd suggest tackling that right at the beginning of the project and making cutting them longer. If you know that you're quite tall, then cut them longer so that you can accommodate that. I turn my trousers inside out again after trying them on. I find it easier to press up the hems that way. And then I've pressed them up by their 1 centimetre, and then I actually just wanted them slightly shorter, but it wasn't worth cutting. So instead of turning up 1.5, I just turned up 2.5. And I actually quite like the cuff to be quite nice and deep as well. If I wanted them short, then I could roll them up. But to be honest with you, I quite like my pyjamas to be fairly long so that I don't get cold ankles when I'm all scrunched up on the sofa of a Friday evening. Quite like my pyjamas to be quite long. Right, so we're now going to sew around the cuffs. I'm going to remove my free arm for this. So your sewing machine should have something called a free arm that will just come off, and what that does is it leaves you with a space all the way around here, and that allows you to do cuffs because you can then just pop your cuff along on there. I'm going to just do this by eye, lining up the needle a couple of millimetres in from the edge of that fold. Let's zoom you in. There you go. So hopefully you can see that. I'm just going to hand wind the needle in there to check that I'm in the right position and put those there. And then I'm going to go round in a circle. I'm going to increase my stitch length to 3 because I like a longer stitch when it's going to be showing on the outside of the garment. So there we go, the back stitches to begin, and I'm just doing this by eye. And we're done. Here are my finished Tilly and the Buttons Jaimie pyjama trousers. I am so pleased with how they look. I'm really pleased with how they've turned out. Just love the fact that they've got their pockets in them there as well. So now that I've shown you how to make those, I hope you've got the confidence to go and give that project a try for yourself. I'm going to do a video showing you how to make a coordinating eye mask so that you can use the leftover bits of fabric to make that as well. And then I'm also going to show you how to make a drawstring bag that will really make, if you're making this as a gift, it will really make it extra special. Thanks very much for watching today, and I'll see you in the next sew along.